My name is Lee Hammock. I'm the lead game designer on Fallen Earth. Fallen Earth is a massively multiplayer online game set in the southwest United States, 100 years after the world has been devastated by a virus called the Shiva Plague. And those it did not kill, it turned into horrible, horrible mutants. So you've got a world of falling down buildings, lots of graves, animals with two heads, people with crazy powers, all trying to find the last bit of good food left in the world and survive another day.
So what's, obviously aside from the setting, what sets this game apart from other MMOs?
Well, we have a first-person shooter-based combat system, so you actually have a reticle you have to put over your target to hit them. It's got sort of an RPG back into it, so the hit determination is strictly FPS. You get more damage for headshots, but once it basically hands it over once you determine a hit to the RPG system, which uses a system of weapon damage versus armor, attack skill versus defense skill to determine the actual damage of the hit. So you've got sort of the mix of both worlds, and there have been other FPS games, but none as fully MMO as ours, I guess, for lack of a better term. I mean, there's PlanetSide. PlanetSide is all PvP. This is a full MMO. It's got PvP, it's got PvE, it's got missions, it's got crafting, it's got vehicles you can drive, all built around an FPS-style combat system. We've also got the post-apocalyptic environment. Well, there's been a lot of video games about that recently, not a lot of MMOs. I mean, Auto Assault is the main one, and it was more driving game than a real, run around as people MMO. And really, the last 2 points really are huge sandbox environment. We have a huge world to run around in. It takes hours to walk across the game. Basically, we got a total area that we can play in of about 7,000 square kilometers long term. We're launching with about 1,000 of that actually filled out. So there's a huge space to run around in, 70 towns, thousands of missions, huge environment. And the last thing is our crafting system is really well done. It's very in-depth, very involved, a lot of scavenging, harvesting of resources. It's a player-driven economy in that players make all the best gear in the game. Players make all the vehicles in the game. So really, to really prosper in the game, you have to be a crafter or get your gear from crafters.
So can you run me through a kind of day-to-day experience of an average player when he comes into the game? What does he do?
Average player, I'm assuming you mean after the start of the game, because, at the start of the game you play the tutorial, then you go learn how to play the game.
Just an average day in the life of an average player.
Average player is probably going to log on in whatever town they are last in, clear out their crafting queue. Our crafting has a real-time component to it, so as you fin it basically takes real time to make stuff, so it may take 2 hours to make a gun. That time passes whether you're online or not, so when you log back on, a lot of times whatever you set to make when you logged off will be done. So you clear out your queue, you get all those items, you get the experience points for crafting, because you get experience points for crafting and harvesting in our game, so you can play a completely non-combatant character and make it to max level. So you clear out all that, figure out what missions you're going to do that day, or what your first activity is. You could, like I said, you go do missions. If you want to go do PvP, work on your faction rating, go harvest resources. If there's a specific item you want to collect, you choose which one of those things you want to do. Head out from whatever town you logged out in. You don't have to log out in towns, but most people do. It's safer that way. A lot of characters will use vehicles to get to wherever the location they're trying to get to. We've got horses, different types of horses. Players can train better horses. ATVs, motorcycles, muscle cars, dune buggies. You can put guns on some of these. You can shoot people with your guns while you're on, you can shoot people with pistols while you're on a motorcycle. So a player will, get to whatever location they're going to, which can take a while depending on where you're going. Do their chosen task. If they're doing missions, do whatever their mission entails. They're working on their faction, doing a faction mission or doing a PvP mission to get more faction points. If they're looking for resources, going to where they know a specific resource can be found in terms of scavenging or harvesting, or if creatures drop it. And then sort of going from there. I mean, we have, from the get-go, you can do crafting, you can do PvP, you can do raids. I mean, we have our first raid-level bad guy at, 10th level. And we have our first major group, town, and instance at around 7th. So whatever you want to do in the MMO space, PvP, PvE, crafting, raids, it's available throughout the whole level spectrum. It's not the type of game where you play a game up to a point, and then the game completely changes into something else, and then you play that other game. You can do whatever you want to do. You can do it all the way through.
Okay. How does your character advancement system work?
It's a classless advancement system. As you go through the game, killing things, completing missions, making things, and harvesting things, you get experience points. Every so many experience points, basically experience points take you up levels. Every 10th of a level you go up, you get 2 AP points. Those AP points are then spent on raising your stats, skills, or mutation paths, however you want. Stats determine various basic functions of your character, such as raising your endurance gives you more hit points. Raising your strength lets you carry more stuff. Raising your willpower makes you more resistant to mental attacks. And then you have your skills. Your skills allow you to use better equipment, activate special abilities. Each skill is tied to 2 attributes. For example, rifle is tied to dexterity and perception. If you want to max out your rifle, you have to max out your dexterity and perception. And then you have mutation paths, which allow you to use crazy abilities like pathotransmission. You're a walking plague carrier. You can spit plagues and diseases on people. You can develop those. You have to find injectors in play to awaken those mutations inside you. And then once you've done that, you can spend APs on them to raise them. Those mutations are they're not very hard to find, but they're limited by the various factions in the game. Each faction has mutations it teaches, so you have to basically be with a certain faction to get some mutations.
What about visual customization?
Visual customization is a character creation. You can set facial structure, hair color, hairstyle, eye color. You can get piercings, 2 sets of piercings, and that's everything from like chin to ear to nose to eyebrow. You can get 2 facial tattoos. You can have 2 sets of war paint. You can have arm and leg tattoos, body hair. Women get belly piercings instead of body hair because we don't need that type of mutant. Instead of facial hair, guys get 2 levels of facial hair, like a stubble layer and then an actual hair layer. Women get lipstick and eyeshadow. You don't have a lot of clothing customization to character creation. You get to choose a shirt and your shoes. That's about it. The rest of your clothes are pre-built because we have a loot-driven item system. So 20 minutes into the game, you're probably going to get an awesome new shirt that's better than the one you had. We don't want people to spend an hour making their cool costume in the character creator only to have the first item they get throw it completely out of whack. So once you leave character creation, all of the appearance customization is based on what items you can find in the game, which vary dramatically. You've got everything from torn-up T-shirts and ratty jeans up to full, it's not powered armor yet, but full heavy combat armor, environmental suits, gas masks, top hats, monocles, suit jackets, camo clothes, armor made out of hubcaps and stop signs, and just all kinds of crazy stuff. And weaponry, it's the same kind of spectrum, because you start out with stuff like rusty pipes and shivs and paintball guns that have been modified to fire like little metal bolts and crossbows, and you move up to baseball bats with nails in them and parking meters and chunks of concrete on the ends of metal rods, and you eventually get up to like swords and assault rifles, rocket launchers, shotguns, all kinds of stuff.
So tell me the story of the favorite encounter you've had just playing the game.
Favorite encounter I had just playing the game? That's pretty tough. Trying to think what I've done recently. We've recently had a whole bunch. Actually, I would probably say we had a PvP test Sunday morning where I was luckily on a team. We were basically testing a conflict town called Wind Farm, and when at the start of the test, everyone was playing Enforcers, and there were like 2 people in my department who were stuck playing Chota. And I was like, that's not very fair. So we ended up getting a bunch of people from QA who really know how to play the game. Oh my god, we have 2 people who we call the dynamic, the Wonder Twins, the dynamic duo, because basically they're our litmus test if an encounter is too easy or too hard. They keep coming back to me and saying, yeah, that encounter you beat to be unbeatable, yeah, we duoed it. We got them on the weaker side, got a whole bunch of people together, got a good team, and ended up completely rolling the Enforcer side of the PvP test, and almost took control of the town. It was a lot of really good fights, though. It was a really good team encounter. We were all using the in-game voice over IP, so staying in touch and very organized. It was one of the best PvP encounters I've had in a game.
Can you run us through the timeline for testing, projected launch, things like this?
Right now, we are in closed beta. We're looking to go to open beta very soon. We don't have an official launch date yet, but we're going to have an announcement about a launch date later this week.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this.
Oh, thank you very much for coming by.